Happy Wednesday to you, and welcome to our words of encouragement today. I want to continue to look at Peter. We're going to look at 2 Peter today. But when I think about Simon Peter and I think about his story as an individual and as a leader, we see Simon Peter's walk of faith. And sometimes he just stumbles. He just falls or fails. But one of the things he always continues to do is he continues to walk in faith. He continues to try to move forward. It's interesting as we see him later in his ministry, and especially in his letters, 1st and 2nd Peter, we see a different person. And admittedly, 2nd Peter is right before he's about to be martyred, and he knows that. And so he's sending these letters telling you how it is, even in the midst of it, as a growing disciple, to recognize that we continue to walk, that we continue to move, we continue to grow. And so I want you to listen to 2 Peter chapter 1. We'll read verse 3, and then I'm going to jump down to 5 through 8. It says, "His divine power has given us everything we need for a godly life through our knowledge of Him who called us, by His own glory and goodness." He says, and God has poured all of this out on you, that you might experience this change through the godly power, not through our own. And then in verses 5 through 8, he's going to use a literary context to teach. And he moves from word to word. And so listen to the things he talks about, how we ought to strive to add, to walk in faith, increasing in faith. I think ultimately to look more like Christ. I think the very example we saw out of Peter. He says, "For this very reason, make every effort to add to your faith goodness, and to goodness knowledge, and knowledge self-control, and to self-control perseverance, and to perseverance godliness, and to godliness mutual affection, and to mutual affection love. For if you possess these qualities in increasing measures, they will keep you from being ineffective and unproductive in your knowledge of our Lord Jesus Christ." It's interesting. I was reading these words over, trying to prepare. So I just wrote them down. Faith, goodness, knowledge, self-control, perseverance, godliness, mutual affection, and love. It's interesting. I just started to think, and as I was reading these words, different pieces came to my mind, different biblical stories, to hear the perseverance of Peter and really all of the disciples as they came to watch Jesus go to the cross, and as they would go into the world to see the church raised. Self-control. For the man who would lop off a centurion's ear, to the person who would make sure that he's writing letters at the end of his life, that we might know that divine power to grow. Man, knowledge. Peter always continued to grow. Sometimes he stumbled, he stepped out of the boat and onto the water, and then sunk into it. And yet out of that he learned, and he knew how to respond better the next time. His faith to become that rolling, living stone, always moving forward, always carrying the faith. And those pieces, it's amazing to me that how we can continue to grow in our faith. That it is a process, but through the divine nature and the power of God, we have the ability to reflect Christ more often in our lives. Maybe it's time we think about one of these words this week. Faithfulness, goodness, self-control, perseverance, godliness, mutual affection, and love. and see how we might grow in them. It'd go a long way to making us the Christians we should be, the Christian leaders we should be, the leaders we should be in our homes and in our community. I hope that gives you a word to think about today. Go in faith and love. Goodbye.